Arrival and first impressions. The sleek Kelpian starship glided into Earth's orbit, its iridescent hull reflecting the azure glow of the planet below. Inside, Wendy Zala stood at the observation deck, her large almond-shaped eyes widening at the sight of the swirling blue and green sphere. "Fascinating," she murmured, her slender fingers pressing against the transparent alloy. Earth, a planet of myths and legends in the Kelpian scientific community, was now within her reach. She had come to unravel its mysteries. The ship's intercom crackled. "Ambassador Zalith, please prepare for atmospheric entry." Wendy smoothed her shimmer silk robes, a gesture born more from excitement than vanity. As the youngest member of the Kelpian diplomatic corps, she carried the weight of her entire species' expectations. Earth was their first contact with a less advanced civilization, a delicate dance of cultural exchange and careful guidance. The descent was smooth, the ship's inertial dampeners negating any turbulence. San Francisco Bay came into view, its iconic bridge stretching across the water like a metallic serpent. Wendy's heart raced. Her research on human culture had barely scratched the surface of this complex species. As the ship touched down on the landing pad of the International Center for Cultural Exchange, Wendy took a deep breath. She'd had practiced human greetings for weeks, determined not to make any cultural faux pas. The airlock hissed open, and Wendy stepped out into the crisp California air. A small delegation waited, led by a tall man with wild hair and thick rimmed glasses. He fidgeted with a data pad, looking anywhere but at the approaching aliens. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Zalith." A woman in a crisp suit stepped forward. "I'm Director Samantha Hayes. We're honored to host the Kelpian delegation." Wendy inclined her head in the traditional Kelpian greeting. "The honor is ours, Director Hayes. We look forward to fostering understanding between our peoples." Hayes gestured to the fidgeting man. "This is Dr. Edward Chen, our lead xenobiologist. He'll be your primary liaison during your stay." Edward's head snapped up, his eyes meeting Wendy's for a brief, intense moment before darting away. Hello, Ambassador," he stammered, thrusting out his hand. Wendy blinked momentarily, confused. Her cultural briefings hadn't covered this gesture. Was it some form of ritual challenge? A mating display? Humans were so unpredictable. Hesitantly, she extended her own hand. Edward grasped it, giving it a firm shake. The sudden contact sent a jolt through Wendy's system. On Kellia, such casual touching was reserved for the most intimate of partners. She jerked her hand back, feeling heat rise to her cheeks. "I thank you for the welcome, Dr. Chen," she managed, her usual composure shaken. Edward's face flushed red. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. That is, it's just a handshake. A common greeting here on Earth." Director Hayes cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should move inside for the formal introductions." Wendy nodded, grateful for the interruption. As they walked towards the gleaming building, she couldn't help but sneak glances at Dr. Chen. His reaction to the handshake had been almost as strong as hers. Was there more to this greeting than she realized? The atrium of the International Center was a marvel of human architecture, all sweeping curves and natural light. Wendy's scientific curiosity momentarily overcame her embarrassment. "The structural integrity of this design is remarkable," she commented. "How do you account for seismic activity in this region?" Edward perked up, his awkwardness fading as he slipped into lecture mode. "Oh, it's fascinating, actually. The building uses a combination of base isolation and damping systems." As he launched into a detailed explanation, Wendy found herself drawn in by his enthusiasm. There was something endearing about his nervous energy, so different from the controlled demeanor of Kelpian scientists. Their tour concluded in a large auditorium where the rest of the Kelpian delegation had assembled. Director Hayes took the podium. "Distinguished guests, on behalf of the people of Earth, welcome. Today marks a historic moment in interstellar relations. To begin our cultural exchange, Dr. Chen will give a brief overview of human biology and social structures." Edward fumbled with his notes as he approached the podium. Wendy leaned forward, eager to learn more about these strange beings. Humans are a biologically diverse species, Edward began, his voice gaining confidence. We reproduce sexually with two distinct sexes, combining genetic material to create offspring. Wendy's antenna twitched in surprise. Sexual reproduction? How inefficient. On Kellia, reproduction was a simple matter of cellular division when an individual reached maturity. Edward continued, delving into the intricacies of human relationships beyond biological imperatives. Humans form pair bonds based on emotional and physical attraction. We call this falling in love. Love. Wendy had encountered the concept in her research, but hearing it explained in clinical terms only deepened her fascination. How could a biological process be tied to such complex emotions? As Edward's lecture concluded, Wendy's mind whirled with questions. The other Kelpians seemed equally intrigued, their usual stoic demeanor giving way to excited chittering. Director Hayes approached Wendy as the crowd dispersed. "Ambassador, we've arranged private quarters for you in the diplomatic wing. Dr. Chen will show you the way and answer any additional questions you might have." Wendy nodded, grateful for the opportunity to satisfy her growing curiosity. As they walked through the winding corridors, she turned to Edward. "Dr. Chen, your lecture was most illuminating. I must admit, the concept of love is particularly intriguing. How does one quantify such an abstract emotion?" Edward stumbled slightly, caught off guard by the direct question. "Well, that's a complex topic. Love isn't really something we can measure scientifically. It's more of a feeling." "A feeling," Wendy pressed. "But surely there must be observable physiological responses, hormonal changes, neurological patterns." "There are," Edward admitted. "Increased heart rate, pupil dilation, elevated levels of oxytocin and dopamine. But those are just the physical manifestations. The emotional experience is, well, it's different for everyone." Wendy's antenna quivered with excitement. Fascinating. And these pair bonds, they are formed solely for reproductive purposes. Edward's face reddened again. "Not necessarily. Many humans form romantic relationships without the intention of reproducing. It's about companionship, emotional connection, physical intimacy." "Physical intimacy," Wendy echoed, her mind racing. "You mean beyond the act of reproduction itself?" Edward looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. "Yes, humans engage in various forms of physical affection, kissing, hugging, other activities. It's a way of expressing love and strengthening emotional bonds." They reached Wendy's quarters, but she was too engrossed in the conversation to notice. "Dr. Chen, I find this subject absolutely captivating. Would you be willing to assist me in a more in-depth study of human relationships?" Edward's eyes widened. That is, maybe we should discuss this another time. It's been a long day, and you must be tired from your journey." Wendy blinked, suddenly aware of how forward she'd been. "Of course. How inconsiderate of me. Thank you for your patience, Dr. Chen. I look forward to continuing our discussions." As Edward hurried away, Wendy entered her quarters, her mind buzzing with new information. She activated her personal data terminal, fingers flying over the holographic interface as she began compiling notes. "Computer, begin new research project," she commanded. Title: An Exploration of Human Pair Bonding and Reproductive Practices. As the computer acknowledged her request, Wendy smiled to herself. Her mission to Earth was already proving far more interesting than she could have imagined. And Dr. Edward Chen, with his nervous energy and wealth of knowledge, would make an excellent research subject. Little did she know, her innocent curiosity was about to lead her down a path that would challenge everything she thought she knew about love, biology, and the nature of interspecies relationships. New discoveries. San Francisco's morning fog clung to the windows of the International Center for Cultural Exchange as Wendy strode purposefully through its halls. Her antenna twitched with anticipation. Today, she would begin her in-depth study of human mating rituals with Dr. Edward Chen as her unwitting subject. She found Edward in the xenobiology lab, hunched over a microscope. Wendy cleared her throat, causing him to jump. Ambassador Zarlith, Edward stammered, adjusting his glasses. I didn't expect you so early. Wendy smiled, extending her hand. Please call me Wendy. I believe this is the customary greeting. Edward hesitated before shaking her hand. Yes, but it's not typically repeated so frequently. Wendy held on, her grip firm. I see. And how long should this contact last to initiate the mating process? Edward's face flushed crimson as he jerked his hand away. Mating process? Ambassador, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Wendy's antenna drooped. Have I committed a social faux pas? My research indicated physical contact was a precursor to human reproduction. Edward took a deep breath, pinching the bridge of his nose. Handshakes are just a greeting. They have nothing to do with reproduction. Fascinating, Wendy exclaimed, whipping out a datapad. Please explain the distinction. As Edward launched into an awkward explanation of human social norms, Wendy's mind raced. She had clearly misinterpreted her initial research. This would require a more nuanced approach. Over the next few weeks, Wendy threw herself into her fieldwork, attending human social events and analyzing human behavior with meticulous detail. She observed everything from casual social interactions to more intimate settings, all the while maintaining a polite distance to avoid influencing the natural behavior of her subjects. One afternoon, she found herself at a human cafe, seated at a table next to a couple engaged in animated conversation. They were laughing, their fingers occasionally brushing against each other in what Wendy had learned was considered affectionate touch. Intrigued, she observed them closely. As the couple left, Wendy approached the counter to place an order. The barista, a young woman with a warm smile, greeted her. Hi there. What can I get for you today? Wendy hesitated, unsure of the protocol. I would like to study human dietary preferences. Could you recommend a typical beverage? The barista's smile widened. Sure. How about a latte? It's a popular choice. Wendy nodded, making a note in her datapad. A latte. Very well. As she sipped the warm beverage, she couldn't help but notice how the barista and other patrons interacted. The cafe was a microcosm of human society, a place where casual conversation and subtle gestures of affection blended seamlessly into daily life. Later that week, Wendy attended a social gathering hosted by Director Hayes. The event was a mix of formal and informal interactions, with guests mingling and engaging in various social activities. Wendy was keenly aware of her surroundings, observing how humans navigated the complex web of social norms. She found herself drawn into a conversation with a woman named Maria, who was enthusiastic about discussing human art and culture. So, Wendy, what do you think of our art scene? Maria asked, her eyes twinkling with curiosity. Wendy considered her response carefully. Your art is quite diverse, reflecting a wide range of human experiences and emotions. It seems to serve as both a means of self-expression and a way to connect with others. Maria nodded, clearly pleased with the observation. Exactly. Art is a way for us to share our feelings and experiences with each other. It's a universal language in a way. As the evening progressed, Wendy found herself engaged in a series of discussions about various aspects of human life, from family dynamics to personal aspirations. Each conversation provided new insights into the complexities of human relationships. At the end of the evening, as she was about to leave, Edward approached her, his usual nervous demeanor replaced with a look of determination. Ambassador Zarlith, I've been reviewing the data from your observations. I think we should discuss the concept of human relationships in more depth. Wendy's antenna perked up with interest. That would be most beneficial. I have many questions remaining. They settled into a quiet corner of the gathering, where Edward began to explain the intricacies of human relationships with renewed confidence. Wendy listened intently, her curiosity piqued by the new information. One thing to remember, Edward said, is that human relationships are incredibly diverse. What might be true for one person or culture might not be the same for another. Wendy nodded, making notes. Indeed, the variability is both challenging and intriguing. As they spoke, Wendy began to notice subtle shifts in Edward's demeanor. His nervousness seemed to have dissipated, replaced by a genuine enthusiasm for the subject matter. There was something endearing about his dedication, and Wendy found herself appreciating him more and more. As the days turned into weeks, Wendy and Edward's interactions became more frequent. Their discussions ranged from academic analyses of human behavior to more personal reflections on their own experiences. Wendy found herself growing increasingly fascinated by Edward, not just as a subject of study, but as a person. One afternoon, as they walked through a park, Wendy marveled at the beauty of the natural surroundings. Humans have such a deep connection to nature, she observed. It seems to play a significant role in your emotional well-being. Edward nodded. Yes, nature provides a sense of peace and perspective. It's often where we go to reflect and recharge. Wendy glanced at Edward, noticing the way his eyes sparkled with passion as he spoke. For the first time, she found herself considering the possibility of human relationships in a different light. Could it be that the bonds humans formed were not just biological imperatives, but something more profound? As they continued their walk, Wendy felt a growing sense of connection with Edward. His passion for his work, his genuine curiosity, and his willingness to share his knowledge had made a significant impact on her. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the park, Wendy couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement about the future. Her mission to Earth had already yielded unexpected discoveries, and she was eager to see where this journey would lead. Uncharted territories. The days continued to blur together as Wendy and Edward delved deeper into their exploration of human relationships. What had begun as a scientific investigation was evolving into something more complex and nuanced. Wendy found herself grappling with new questions, both about human behavior and her own growing feelings. One evening, Edward invited Wendy to attend a local cultural festival. It's a great opportunity to experience human traditions firsthand, he explained, his eyes alight with enthusiasm. You might find it interesting. Wendy accepted the invitation, intrigued by the prospect of immersing herself in another facet of human life. The festival was a vibrant celebration of art, music, and food, with booths and performances showcasing a rich tapestry of human creativity. As Wendy and Edward wandered through the festival, Wendy marveled at the diversity of experiences on display. There were musicians playing energetic tunes, artists creating intricate works of art, and vendors offering a wide array of culinary delights. The air was filled with a palpable sense of joy and excitement. Humans have such a remarkable capacity for celebration, Wendy observed, her antenna twitching with fascination. These festivals seem to serve as a means of strengthening social bonds and expressing shared cultural values. Edward nodded, clearly pleased by Wendy's observations. Yes, festivals are an important part of human life. They allow people to come together, celebrate their achievements, and simply enjoy each other's company. As they continued to explore the festival, Wendy noticed the way people interacted with one another. There was a sense of camaraderie and warmth that permeated the atmosphere. It was evident that social connections played a central role in human life. Later in the evening, they found themselves at a booth where people were painting their faces with colorful designs. Wendy hesitated, unsure of the significance of the activity. Edward noticed her uncertainty and smiled. Would you like to give it a try? It's a fun tradition. Wendy hesitated, then nodded. Very well. I'm curious to experience this aspect of human culture. Edward guided Wendy through the process, and she found herself immersed in the playful activity. As she looked at her reflection, she couldn't help but smile at the bright, elaborate patterns adorning her face. You look fantastic, Edward exclaimed, his eyes twinkling with amusement. You fit right in. Wendy laughed, feeling a sense of lightheartedness she hadn't experienced before. Thank you, Edward. This is quite enjoyable. As the festival drew to a close, Wendy and Edward found a quiet spot to sit and reflect on the day's experiences. The excitement of the festival had given way to a more contemplative mood. "I must say," Wendy began, her tone thoughtful, "I have gained a new appreciation for human social customs. There is a depth to your traditions that I had not fully grasped before." Edward smiled, his expression softening. "I'm glad you enjoyed it. There's so much to learn about human culture, and it's always rewarding to share it with someone who's genuinely interested." Wendy's antenna flickered with a mix of emotions. She had come to Earth with a mission to study human relationships, but her interactions with Edward had sparked something more profound. As they sat together, the gentle hum of the festival's music in the background, Wendy felt a growing sense of connection with him. As the evening drew to a close, Edward walked Wendy back to her quarters. The air was cool, and the city lights twinkled in the distance. Wendy found herself reluctant to part ways. "Thank you for a wonderful evening, Edward," Wendy said, her voice sincere. "I have learned so much from you, both about human culture and about myself." Edward looked at her, his eyes filled with warmth. "It was my pleasure, Wendy. I've enjoyed our time together, too. You've brought a fresh perspective to my own understanding of human relationships." Wendy's antenna twitched with anticipation. "Perhaps we can continue our discussions in the future. There is still much I wish to explore." Edward nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I would like that." As Wendy entered her quarters, she reflected on the evening's events. Her mission to Earth had taken an unexpected turn, and she found herself grappling with new emotions and questions. The more she learned about humans, the more she realized how much she had yet to understand. The days that followed were filled with new discoveries and deepening connections. Wendy and Edward continued their exploration of human relationships, each encounter bringing them closer together. Wendy's scientific curiosity was matched only by her growing affection for Edward, and she began to question the boundaries between her professional objectives and her personal feelings. One afternoon, as they strolled through a nearby park, Wendy found herself reflecting on the nature of her mission. "Edward, have you ever wondered if our understanding of relationships is influenced by our own experiences and emotions?" Edward glanced at her, his expression thoughtful. "Absolutely. Our personal experiences shape how we perceive and engage in relationships. It's a dynamic interplay of biology, psychology, and culture." Wendy nodded, her antenna twitching with interest. "It seems that human relationships are far more intricate than I had initially anticipated. There is an emotional depth that transcends mere social interactions." Edward's gaze softened as he looked at her. "Yes, and it's that emotional depth that makes relationships so meaningful." As they continued their walk, Wendy felt a growing sense of clarity. Her mission had become more than just a study of human behavior. It had evolved into a journey of self-discovery and emotional growth. With each passing day, Wendy found herself more immersed in the complexities of human relationships. Her interactions with Edward had opened new avenues of understanding, and she was eager to continue exploring the depths of human connection. In the weeks that followed, Wendy and Edward's bond continued to deepen. They spent more time together, sharing experiences and insights that enriched their understanding of each other and the world around them. Wendy's initial curiosity had blossomed into a genuine appreciation for the richness of human life, and her growing feelings for Edward were a testament to the unexpected ways in which relationships could evolve. As Wendy prepared for the next phase of her mission, she knew that her journey had only just begun. The complexities of human relationships were vast and multifaceted, and she was eager to continue unraveling the mysteries that lay ahead. With a renewed sense of purpose and a heart full of anticipation, Wendy looked forward to the future with optimism and excitement. The path ahead was uncharted, but she was ready to embrace the challenges and opportunities that awaited her. The journey of discovery, both personal and professional, had led her to a place of profound understanding and connection. As she took her next steps, Wendy knew that the true essence of human relationships was something she would continue to explore and cherish for years to come. A new perspective. The rhythm of Wendy's mission had shifted from purely observational to deeply immersive. As she and Edward continued their exploration of human relationships, Wendy found herself increasingly engrossed in the complexities of human emotions and interactions. Each day brought new experiences and insights, adding layers to her understanding of humanity. One crisp autumn morning, Edward invited Wendy to join him for a visit to a local community center. "There's an event happening today that showcases various human support groups," he explained. "It might give you a broader perspective on how humans connect with and support each other." Wendy agreed, intrigued by the idea of witnessing human support networks firsthand. As they entered the bustling community center, Wendy was struck by the vibrant energy and sense of camaraderie that filled the space. The center was alive with activity. People were engaging in group discussions, sharing stories, and participating in various workshops. Edward led Wendy to a room where a support group was meeting. The group was discussing a topic related to personal growth and resilience. Wendy took a seat at the back, observing the interactions with keen interest. The group leader, a warm and empathetic woman named Laura, was guiding the discussion. "We all face challenges in our lives," Laura said, her voice gentle. "What's important is how we support each other through those challenges. Sharing our experiences and offering support can make a huge difference." Wendy watched as group members took turns sharing their stories and offering words of encouragement. There was a sense of solidarity and understanding that permeated the room, and Wendy found herself moved by the depth of the connections being formed. As the meeting concluded, Edward and Wendy joined the group for refreshments. Wendy struck up a conversation with Laura, eager to learn more about her perspective on human support systems. "Your group seems to foster a strong sense of community," Wendy observed. "How do you think this contributes to individual well-being?" Laura smiled, her eyes reflecting a deep sense of fulfillment. "Human beings are inherently social creatures. Having a support system can provide emotional stability, help us navigate difficult times, and create a sense of belonging. It's all about connecting with others and knowing that you're not alone." Wendy nodded thoughtfully. "It's fascinating to see how humans create these networks to enhance their emotional well-being. It's a testament to the importance of social bonds." As Wendy and Edward left the community center, Wendy reflected on the experience. The support group had provided her with a new perspective on the ways humans nurture and sustain their relationships. It was clear that emotional support was a cornerstone of human connection, and Wendy felt a growing appreciation for the ways in which humans cared for one another. The following week, Edward invited Wendy to a local university lecture on human psychology. "I think you'll find this lecture interesting," he said. "It covers some of the latest research on emotional intelligence and its impact on relationships." Wendy eagerly accepted the invitation, excited to delve into the academic aspects of human behavior. The lecture hall was filled with students and professionals, all eager to learn about the latest developments in the field. The lecturer, a distinguished professor named Dr. Reynolds, spoke about the importance of emotional intelligence in building and maintaining relationships. Emotional intelligence involves recognizing and understanding our own emotions, as well as the emotions of others, Dr. Reynolds explained. It plays a crucial role in effective communication, empathy, and conflict resolution. Wendy listened intently, absorbing the information with great interest. The concepts being discussed resonated with her recent observations and experiences. She realized that emotional intelligence was a key factor in the depth and quality of human relationships. After the lecture, Wendy and Edward had a chance to speak with Dr. Reynolds. Wendy expressed her enthusiasm for the topic. "I've been observing human interactions and the role of emotional intelligence in relationships. Your lecture provided valuable insights aligned with what I've been learning." Dr. Reynolds smiled, clearly pleased with Wendy's engagement. Emotional intelligence is indeed a critical aspect of human relationships. It's through understanding and managing our emotions that we can build stronger connections with others. As Wendy and Edward left the university, Wendy couldn't help but reflect on the profound impact of emotional intelligence. It was becoming increasingly clear that human relationships were shaped by a complex interplay of emotions, communication, and empathy. In the weeks that followed, Wendy and Edward continued their exploration of human relationships. They attended various events and engaged in conversations that further enriched Wendy's understanding. Each new experience added depth to her growing appreciation for the intricacies of human connection. One evening, as they strolled through a quiet park, Wendy decided to share her evolving perspective with Edward. "Edward, I've been reflecting on the insights I've gained from our experiences. It's clear that human relationships are incredibly nuanced and multifaceted." Edward looked at her with a thoughtful expression. "Yes, and it's through our interactions that we gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. It's a continuous journey of discovery." Wendy nodded, her antenna twitching with a mix of excitement and introspection. "I've come to realize that relationships are not just about social interactions, but also about emotional growth and self-discovery. It's a dynamic and evolving process." As they continued their walk, Wendy felt a sense of clarity and purpose. Her mission to Earth had transformed into a journey of personal and emotional exploration. The connections she had formed with Edward and the insights she had gained were shaping her understanding of both humanity and herself. With a renewed sense of purpose, Wendy looked forward to the next chapter of her mission. The complexities of human relationships were far from over, and she was eager to continue unraveling the mysteries that lay ahead. As the days turned into weeks, Wendy and Edward's bond continued to strengthen. Their shared experiences and growing affection for each other added a new dimension to their interactions. Wendy found herself increasingly drawn to Edward, both as a colleague and as a friend. One evening, as they sat together in a cozy cafe, Wendy felt a sense of contentment and connection. The journey of discovery had brought them closer, and Wendy was grateful for the opportunity to explore the depths of human relationships alongside someone she deeply respected. As Wendy reflected on the path she had taken, she knew that her mission was far from over. The journey of understanding and connection was ongoing, and she was eager to embrace the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. With a heart full of anticipation and a mind brimming with insights, Wendy looked forward to the future. The journey of exploration and discovery had only just begun, and she was ready to embrace the adventures that awaited her. Uncharted territory. Wendy's immersion into human interactions had revealed many layers of emotional depth, but there remained an aspect of human experience that she had yet to fully explore: romantic relationships. As her bond with Edward deepened, she found herself increasingly curious about the dynamics of romantic connections and how they differed from platonic relationships. One crisp winter evening, Edward suggested they attend a local social event that was known for its emphasis on romantic connections. "It's a singles mixer," he explained. "It might give you some insight into the dynamics of romantic attraction and how people form intimate connections." Wendy agreed, intrigued by the prospect of witnessing romantic interactions firsthand. The event was being held in a charming, dimly lit venue with soft music playing in the background. As Wendy and Edward arrived, they were greeted by a lively crowd of singles mingling and engaging in conversation. The atmosphere was warm and inviting, and Wendy observed as people approached each other with a mix of curiosity and excitement. Conversations flowed easily, and Wendy could sense a palpable energy of anticipation and hope in the air. Edward introduced Wendy to some of the attendees, and she quickly became engrossed in conversations about love and relationships. Many people shared their personal experiences and thoughts on what they sought in a romantic partner. One conversation that particularly caught Wendy's attention was with a young woman named Emma, who spoke candidly about her experiences with love. "I think what makes a romantic relationship special is the connection you share with someone on a deep emotional level," Emma said. "It's about finding someone who understands you and makes you feel valued and cherished." Wendy listened intently, fascinated by Emma's perspective. "How do you know when you found that kind of connection?" she asked. Emma smiled, her eyes reflecting a sense of longing and hope. "It's often a combination of intuition and shared experiences. You start to feel a sense of comfort and excitement when you're with that person, and over time, you build a strong emotional bond." As the evening progressed, Wendy continued to observe the interactions around her. She noted the subtle cues of romantic attraction, lingering glances, gentle touches, and the way people leaned in closer during conversations. It was clear that romantic connections were often characterized by a sense of vulnerability and a desire for emotional intimacy. After the event, Wendy and Edward took a quiet walk through the snow-covered streets. Wendy was contemplative, her thoughts focused on the complexities of romantic relationships. "Edward, I've been thinking about what I observed tonight," Wendy said. "Romantic relationships seem to involve a unique blend of emotional connection and physical attraction. It's fascinating how people seek out these deep, meaningful bonds." Edward nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Yes, romantic relationships often involve a combination of emotional intimacy, physical attraction, and shared values. It's a complex and deeply personal journey for each individual." Wendy's curiosity was piqued further by the evening's observations. She realized that understanding romantic relationships required not only observing interactions, but also experiencing the emotions involved. Her growing bond with Edward added a new layer of complexity to her exploration. As the weeks went by, Wendy found herself increasingly drawn to Edward. Their conversations became more personal, and they shared moments of laughter and connection that felt uniquely special. Wendy couldn't deny the growing affection she felt for him, and she began to wonder about the nature of her own emotions. One evening, as they sat together in Edward's cozy apartment, Wendy decided to share her feelings. "Edward, I've been reflecting on our time together and the connection we've developed. I've come to realize that I have strong feelings for you." Edward looked at her with a mix of surprise and warmth. "Wendy, I felt a deep connection with you as well. Our shared experiences and conversations have been meaningful to me." Wendy's heart fluttered with a mix of excitement and nervousness. "I'm glad to hear that. I've been exploring human emotions and relationships, and it seems that what we have is something special." Edward reached out and gently took Wendy's hand. "I agree. Our bond is unique, and I value the connection we share." The moment was filled with a sense of profound understanding and mutual appreciation. Wendy and Edward's relationship had evolved into something deeply meaningful, and they both recognized the significance of their connection. As they continued to navigate their evolving relationship, Wendy and Edward explored new dimensions of intimacy and emotional connection. They spent time together, sharing experiences that further strengthened their bond. The journey of discovery had led them to a place of mutual affection and understanding. One afternoon, while walking through a picturesque park, Edward surprised Wendy with a heartfelt gesture. He presented her with a small, intricately crafted pendant. "I wanted to give you this," he said, his voice soft. "It's a symbol of how much you mean to me." Wendy's eyes filled with emotion as she accepted the gift. "Thank you, Edward. This means a lot to me. It's a beautiful reminder of our connection." The pendant became a cherished symbol of their relationship, representing the deep emotional bond they had developed. Wendy and Edward continued to support and inspire each other, their connection growing stronger with each passing day. As Wendy reflected on her journey, she realized that her mission to understand human relationships had taken an unexpected turn. Her experiences with Edward had not only provided her with valuable insights, but had also led to a profound and meaningful connection. The journey of exploration and discovery had revealed the intricacies of human emotions, relationships, and romantic connections. Wendy's experiences with Edward had added a new layer of depth to her understanding, and she felt a sense of fulfillment and gratitude for the path she had taken. With a heart full of appreciation and anticipation, Wendy looked forward to the next chapter of her journey. The exploration of human relationships had been both enlightening and transformative, and she was eager to continue embracing the adventures that lay ahead. A new perspective. Wendy's growing relationship with Edward had provided her with profound insights into human emotions and romantic connections. As their bond deepened, Wendy found herself contemplating the nature of her own feelings and the implications of her experiences. Her journey had led her to a place of emotional understanding, and she was eager to explore new dimensions of her relationship with Edward. One chilly afternoon, as snowflakes gently fell outside, Wendy and Edward decided to spend a quiet day indoors. They settled into a cozy corner of Edward's apartment, sipping hot cocoa and discussing their plans for the future. The warmth of the room contrasted with the cold winter landscape outside, creating a sense of comfort and intimacy. "Wendy, I've been thinking about us," Edward said, his voice thoughtful. "Our connection has grown so much over the past few months. I feel like we've reached a point where we should talk about our future." Wendy's heart skipped a beat. The conversation about their future had been on her mind as well, and she was eager to explore where their relationship was headed. "I've been thinking about that too, Edward. Our relationship means a lot to me, and I'd like to understand what lies ahead for us." Edward reached for Wendy's hand, his expression sincere. "I feel the same way. Our time together has been incredibly meaningful, and I want to ensure that we continue to grow and support each other." The conversation turned to their aspirations, dreams, and how they envisioned their future together. Wendy shared her desire to continue exploring human emotions and experiences, while Edward expressed his wish to build a life that balanced personal and professional goals. As they spoke, Wendy realized that their relationship had become a source of mutual support and growth. Their connection was not only emotionally fulfilling, but also provided a foundation for navigating life's challenges together. Wendy felt a deep sense of gratitude for Edward's presence in her life and the way he had contributed to her understanding of human relationships. A few weeks later, Edward surprised Wendy with an invitation to a special event, a celebration of the achievements and milestones of individuals who had made significant contributions to their community. The event was a grand affair, with elegant decorations and an atmosphere of celebration and accomplishment. "Wendy, I wanted to take you to this event because it's a reflection of the values we both hold dear, supporting and uplifting others," Edward explained as they arrived at the venue. "I thought it would be a meaningful experience for us to share." Wendy was touched by Edward's thoughtfulness and eagerly agreed to attend. The event was filled with inspiring stories and heartfelt speeches, highlighting the achievements of individuals who had made a positive impact on their community. As they listened, Wendy and Edward found themselves deeply moved by the sense of purpose and dedication displayed by the honorees. During the event, Wendy and Edward had the opportunity to meet some of the award recipients and learn about their experiences. One of the honorees, a woman named Laura, had dedicated her life to supporting underprivileged youth through educational programs. Her story of perseverance and compassion resonated deeply with Wendy. "Laura's journey is incredibly inspiring," Wendy remarked as they left the event. "Her dedication to making a difference is something I admire greatly." Edward nodded in agreement. "I think it's important for us to find ways to contribute to our community and support causes that matter to us. It's a reflection of the values we've developed together." The experience of the event reinforced Wendy's appreciation for the values of empathy and community support. She and Edward continued to discuss ways they could make a positive impact, exploring opportunities for volunteering and contributing to causes they'd both cared about. As the months went by, Wendy and Edward's relationship continued to evolve, and they embraced new experiences together. Their bond grew stronger as they navigated the ups and downs of life, supporting each other through challenges and celebrating achievements. One summer evening, while strolling through a picturesque park, Edward took Wendy's hand and looked at her with a sense of deep affection. "Wendy, our journey together has been filled with incredible moments and growth. I feel so fortunate to have you in my life." Wendy smiled, her heart swelling with emotion. "Edward, I feel the same way. Our relationship has taught me so much about love, connection, and the beauty of human experience." The park was bathed in the warm glow of the setting sun, casting a romantic ambience over the scene. Edward reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, elegant box. He opened it to reveal a stunning ring, its design reflecting the light with a soft sparkle. "Wendy, I want to take the next step in our journey together," Edward said, his voice filled with sincerity. "Will you marry me?" Wendy's eyes filled with tears of joy as she gazed at the ring. The depth of her feelings for Edward and the significance of their journey together made the moment incredibly meaningful. "Yes, Edward, I would love to marry you." The proposal was a culmination of their shared experiences and growth, and it marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. Wendy and Edward's relationship had become a testament to the power of love, connection, and mutual support. As they embarked on their journey toward marriage, Wendy and Edward continued to explore the complexities of human relationships and emotions. Their experiences together had deepened their understanding and appreciation for one another, and they looked forward to building a future filled with love, growth, and shared adventures. The road ahead was filled with promise and possibility, and Wendy embraced the new chapter with excitement and gratitude. Her journey of exploration had led her to a place of profound connection, and she was eager to continue discovering the richness of human experience alongside Edward. With hearts full of hope and anticipation, Wendy and Edward prepared to embark on their next adventure, one that would be defined by love, commitment, and a shared vision for the future. A new beginning. The day of Wendy and Edward's wedding dawned with a sense of joy and anticipation. The sun shone brightly, casting a golden hue over the carefully decorated venue. It was a picturesque garden, adorned with vibrant flowers and soft, fluttering ribbons, creating a serene and romantic atmosphere. Wendy had chosen a gown that was elegant yet simple, reflecting her personal style and the journey she and Edward had shared. As she looked in the mirror, she couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come, from her initial confusion and curiosity about human emotions to this moment of deep connection and love. Her bridesmaids, who were her closest friends and supporters, surrounded her, helping with the final touches. The air was filled with excitement and a touch of nervous energy. Wendy's heart raced as she thought about the commitment she was about to make and the new chapter that awaited them. Edward, meanwhile, was at the venue, surrounded by his groomsmen and family. He was calm and collected, but his eyes betrayed the depth of his emotions. He couldn't wait to see Wendy walk down the aisle and to begin their life together as a married couple. The ceremony was set to be a blend of traditional elements and personal touches, reflecting their unique journey. As the ceremony began, the guests took their seats, and a hush fell over the garden. Wendy's entrance was marked by the soft strains of a violin playing a melody that had become special to her and Edward. She walked down the aisle, her heart brimming with happiness as she saw Edward standing at the altar, looking at her with unwavering love. The officiant, a dear friend of the couple, began the ceremony with words that resonated deeply with both Wendy and Edward. The vows they exchanged were heartfelt and personal, each one a reflection of the growth and understanding they had gained through their relationship. Wendy spoke first, her voice steady but emotional. "Edward, from the moment we met, you've shown me the beauty of human emotions and the power of love. You've been my guide, my support, and my greatest joy. I promise to stand by you, to support you, and to continue exploring life's wonders together. I am so grateful to have you by my side." Edward's response was equally touching. "Wendy, you've brought a new light into my life and taught me the true meaning of connection. Your curiosity, compassion, and love have enriched my world in ways I never imagined. I vow to cherish you, to honor our journey, and to build a future filled with love and happiness." As they exchanged rings, symbols of their enduring commitment, the guests watched with admiration and warmth. The ceremony was a beautiful blend of tradition and personal significance, marking the beginning of their new life together. After the ceremony, the celebration continued with a reception filled with laughter, music, and dancing. The couple's first dance was a tender moment, their movements perfectly in sync as they shared a dance that symbolized their journey together. Throughout the evening, Wendy and Edward took time to connect with their guests, sharing stories and celebrating the love and support that had been a part of their relationship. They received heartfelt messages of congratulations and well wishes, each one a testament to the impact they had made on those around them. As the night drew to a close, Wendy and Edward took a quiet moment alone. They wandered through the garden, now softly illuminated by twinkling lights, reflecting on the day's events and the journey ahead. "This has been a perfect day," Wendy said, leaning her head on Edward's shoulder. I feel so blessed to have you in my life and to be starting this new chapter with you." Edward wrapped his arm around Wendy, pulling her close. "It has been amazing, and I couldn't have imagined a better partner to share it with. I'm looking forward to our future and all the adventures that await us." Their future was filled with promise and potential. The experiences they had shared and the lessons they had learned had prepared them for the challenges and joys that lay ahead. They were ready to face whatever came their way, knowing that they had each other to lean on. As they walked hand in hand under the starry sky, Wendy and Edward felt a deep sense of contentment. Their love had grown stronger through their journey, and they were excited to continue exploring the world together, embracing new experiences, and building a life filled with happiness and fulfillment. The adventure of their life together had just begun, and they were eager to embrace every moment with open hearts and a shared vision for the future. The love they had found in each other was a testament to the power of connection and the beauty of human experience, and they looked forward to every step of their journey together.